Welcome to our Thursday, February 19th legislative meeting. We'll go ahead with our roll call vote. Do we have any online? Okay. All right, great. Okay, Member Bogus.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Bollinger?
Here.
Yes. Member Booth? Yes. Yes. Member Brinton? Yes. Member Davis? Or she's- Member Earl? Yes. Member Green? Okay. Member Hall?
Yes.
Yes. Member Hymas, or Vice Chair, Chair Hymas. Member Kelly?
Here.
Thank you. Member Carey? Yes. Member Lear? Yes. Member Longacre? Yes. Member Rill? And Member Wood is here. Thank you. So Member Davis is absent and Member Green at this point? Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to start with our budget priorities, just the state of legislative funding, where we're at. Deputy Superintendent Jones. Sorry, I try not to waste any time.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, the public, Deputy Superintendent of Operations Scott Jones. This should be rather quick. We're in the phase of the legislative session where the public education appropriations, if the board will and the public will recall that last meeting up here, I informed you of the public education appropriations recommendations that were presented, and I did say this, would be presented in EAC. They were presented in EAC yesterday. So now we're at that point in the process where we basically wait for EAC to finalize all recommendations from all the subcommittees, but I get, I recognize our interest is public education. So if you would refer back to the sheets I gave you that crosswalked basically what public education appropriations recommendations were. You can see, and I think this is a good emphasis too, is that their first recommendation was your first recommendation for increased funding. And there's a couple others too that they recommended yesterday that you had on your revised 5 top list. So I think that's a value add and something that should be expressed in here. I've recommended to board leadership that they meet with the respective EAC chairs, being Senator Jerry Stevenson and Representative Val Peterson. So I think that's in process of getting that set up so that they can walk them through it, provide additional information to them, answer any questions or concerns that you have brought through or up through leadership. And we'll go from there because what ends up happening is we get into the last weekend before the last week of the session is when we start to see the draft bills for any changes above the base budget for public education, increases, reductions, motions, those types of things. And I plan on advising you on those as quickly as we get those and we see those leading into the final day of the session. Subject to any questions or concerns, that concludes this portion of the agenda, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Superintendent Jones? Not seeing any. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next item. We just have an information item. I think this is the Utah DOTS Partnership School AI. So we'll go ahead with that. And thank you. I'm not sure which one of you are speaking, so please just introduce yourself as you
I
decide
am
who's
speaking.
doing what.
Hi, Board. Katie Chalice, Director of Privacy. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction to this request for appropriations, and then AI Education Specialist Matt Winters is here to ask any or to answer any questions that you might have. So this is a request for appropriations for $15 million. The organization in question is School AI, which is one of the AI partners, which already contracts with the Utah Education Network with UEN. And the funding would be used in three ways. So one is to increase digital teaching and learning budget, specifically to extend the services of this product into schools. Is that an accurate representation? The second piece of this would be to fund a new Office of Education Innovation, which would be outside of the state board. And third would be to work on data research and development in partnership with this AI software, including perhaps work on data systems engineering and any requests that we had for them. I feel like that was not a very good. Please apologize. But that is my summary, Chair.
Thank you. One thing you just said, an Office of Education Innovation outside of the board, where would it live? I mean, outside of the agency, where would it live?
That's probably a question for Specialist Matt Winters, if that's okay, Chair.
Madam Chair, Matt Winters, Utah State Board of Education, AI Education Specialist. So that's up for conversation within the company that's pushing for the bill, but also the representative Representative White, who's sponsoring the RFA. So the conversation is sometimes AI is, as we've discussed previously, a very volatile and fast-moving conversation. And sometimes there needs to be connections and innovation moving faster. And so the conversation has been to have that be outside but accountable to USBE in some way or advising to USBE in some way. I'm not sure how that works, but that's been the conversation.
Okay, so we don't know yet.
Yes,
That's
that is the
answer.
correct answer.
Okay, thank you. Member Carey. Oh, sorry, Member Earl.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to seek some clarity here. So we have a private entity who will be overseeing, I'm understanding that like School AI is who this entity looks like, will be doing the oversight of this for,
So,
am I understanding that
Yeah,
right?
I would characterize it as a partnership.
With-
I don't know if I would describe with School AI, yes, which is a private company.
Yeah.
I would characterize it as a partnership. I don't know that there's any part of the RFA that would give them the right to establish oversight. Some of the funding, for example, this new Office of Education, as I understand, that money would not go to School AI. It would fund separate people. Is that accurate, Matt?
yeah.
Okay. And so I think, I don't believe this would take away like regulatory authority from the board, for example, but it would be more of providing a service.
Okay. And where,
May I
a service, but we have a vendor who will be assisting this group, right? With coming up with the direction to go. So you've got a vendor that's making recommendations to a entity that's outside. Where will the entity sit? I think you said you didn't know, but is that?
Yeah, Matt?
Yes, so that's up for debate right now of where it will, this new entity will sit. Part of that new entity in conversation with the company, but then also Bill sponsor and, the RFA sponsor, has been that they would want to work with multiple organizations at once in education. So USBE being one of them. So the new entity, this Office of Educational Innovation, would act as an intermediary between USBE and the company to figure out what kind of priorities and what kind of systems need to be built, or what kind of things under R&D that can be done, and then provide updates and consistent communication between all entities.
Okay, so just one clarity once again on what you just said. You said the company or companies? So whatever company we
Sing-
choose.
Singular company, school AI, multiple entities in terms
okay,
of like
got it.
government entities to work
Okay.
with.
All right, thanks.
Member Bogus?
Oh, she's on one.
Thank you. My question, I guess, just kind of goes, well, no, I don't have a question. I would just move that we oppose this bill.
It's not a bill, it's a request for appropriation, just so you're aware.
Well, then I would move that we, well, it said bill in the backup, but I would move that we oppose it.
This is only an information item, so we don't have an action item at this point, but we hear you and we'll move forward as we get into our action, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Member
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair Wood. So I have similar questions that Member Earl had, because it feels like this is a vendor that has taken the opportunity in a situation where generally worldwide, we're grasping with the fact that AI is moving incredibly quickly, and we have to get ahead of it. And I am absolutely proud and grateful for all of your work and the work of USBE to get us so far ahead and strategize how we integrate AI in education. However, it just feels like pinning ourselves with one company. It just doesn't feel thoughtful to me. The way that I see it is that this vendor reached out to this legislator for this RFA request and convinced them to make the request to make them the sole entity of like strategizing and working on us with AI. That's how it feels to me. I don't know how all the conversations went down, but I don't like that kind of, it's not very thoughtful. And so part of me thinks that, congratulations to this vendor for being so persuasive with this legislator. But at the same time, I would rather be more thoughtful and explore a lot of options, but also find better ways to look at the contract and what this locks us into, because I think we've done so much internally, and I think there are plenty of vendors, I'm sure, that would make great partners in managing our AI, but partnering to manage. But this just feels like we're being stuck with one vendor. And I don't like that, because that's why we have RFA process. That's why we have an RFA. It's like you send it out and you get to examine and determine which one, based on what contract they can provide us, will be the best vendor to work with. This is just, we're going to allocate this money and it has to go to this company. And I don't like that. It doesn't follow the right processes for me. So maybe I'm just saying that publicly. I know there's nothing we can do, but that's how I feel about it.
Thank you. And so the difference is we do RFPs. So we have a request for proposals that many come in. This is an RFA where it's a single. Okay, thank you. Member Laird, did you have?
Thank you. I'm kind of thinking maybe along the lines of where I thought Member Earl was going, but I'm equally concerned with the sort of a vendor maybe driving this as opposed to the public education system. And I kind of heard in your explanation, this is not a criticism necessarily, but it's like, oh, education moves much too slow and this is much too important and much too fast. And I'm wondering if any of your discussions have with the vendor, or if the sponsor of the bill is the fact that the State Board of Education has constitutional responsibility for the public education system. Was that part of your discussion at all?
Mhm.
And that's not just a rhetorical question. That's really, was it?
Yeah, it was.
And
I wasn't in every conversation, so I'd have to.
no, I mean, and they said, well, that's nice, but, or that's cute, or,
Yeah, so I wasn't in any of the meetings, but, as Matt and I have discussed, I would say Member Real's assessment is probably most accurate, that this is a company that's really excited. They believe they can offer something really impressive. They're really excited, and Representative White is also excited about it. So I think the position that Matt has taken thus far is just sort of like, in the way that all of us staff try to do, just be like a neutral party until the board has made a position. So I'm I don't know that there was much advocating that happened on behalf of the board in those conversations, more Matt learning.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't have expected that. I just wondered if there was any awareness of the people you were talking to of, well, and I'm not saying that to be territorial. I'm saying it because the board does have constitutional oversight. And yes, it's a bureaucracy that moves slower. And I did meet with those people also, and they are impressive and they're knowledgeable and they're um, personable and all that stuff. But I don't think that that changes the board's constitutional authority for something that where the schools are being, and I'll sort of use the word used in seeing how this develops. So that's my reservation. A part of my reservation about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Member Carey?
Thank you. Hey, Director Chalice, it wasn't too long ago, we were in this room and I think we were asked to cut tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars from current education programs, or at least recommend them. And so I'm curious to know, with this RFA, are we looking at $500,000? Are we looking at $1 million? How much is this RFA for?
This is for $15 million.
Okay.
Is that accurate?
So at the same time that we're asked to cut existing education programs, they're saying there's enough money possibly to fund this $15 million proposal. And you mentioned something about the Office of Education in your comment. And could you just expound on that briefly? Is that just a concept? Is that something that has more meat on it than just a concept? Where are we with that, and what role would it play in relation to the school, the AI school? Thank you.
Yeah, I think sorry, I keep forgetting to, is that okay if I respond to that, Vice Chair? I would say it's both a concept and the plan. So it's a concept in the sense that what that office looks like is not terribly well defined yet, but there's a vision. I know that School AI and presumably Representative White have discussed about what that office would do, including, as I understand, perhaps facilitating contract language. Is that right, Matt?
Facilitating what?
Contract language, like,
Yes.
okay, yeah. So there's been, as I understand, there have been conversations about what that office does. I don't know that the RFA itself spells out what that would look like.
Follow? Yes.
Thank you. And something I didn't see, but I just, maybe in your conversations this came up, but under this RFA, would the School of AI encompass more of higher education as well? Because the supporting documentation refers to AI education throughout the state. And so I'm not sure if that's limited to K through 12 or whether that's K through 12 plus college. Do you have any insight on that?
I wonder, Vice Chair, if that might be a Matt question, if that's okay.
Yeah, conversation has been about both K-12 and higher education. There's part of School AI's, excuse me, current model with UEN, Utah Education Network, is that they are, their pricing extends between K-12 and higher ed. So there would be R&D for both organizations. And that's why, again, thinking about a separate office of educational innovation or whatever it ended up being called, would be part of it, is being a juncture point of supporting multiple orgs to get the R&D into the right place and having conversations, negotiating what those would look like. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Member Earl?
Sorry, I going back to this again. So doesn't the governor, don't we have an AI? Right. Okay. So this couldn't work with them, right? It's an entity that already is working with us, directly with us, right? And maybe it's not specific just to education, but I think that we've been able to engage with them and work cooperatively, from what I understand.
I think you're referring to the Office of AI Policy.
Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
the name, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe Matt could speak to the extent to which that has been
Okay.
discussed about.
That has been in the conversation around possible place to house a new office like this or be connected in some way, shape, or form. But I am only in the conversation and in terms of like information only at that point, so.
Sure, thank you.
Chair Hymas.
Just out of curiosity, and I may be way off base, would this eliminate like a Google School, right? If they use their own Google AI, or are we saying that school AI would now be like, you can only use school AI, or if this goes forward?
Yeah, please.
Can I speak to that? So part of the conversation with School AI as the vendor, so part of the funding is money to go directly to DTL, Digital Teaching and Learning. In the conversation with them, it would fund the UEN contracting pricing for any of the tools on there. And LEAs would get a choice continuing for at least a short period of time, a year or maybe two, of which tool that they would like to continue using off of that. So it's not a directive around School AI will be the tool. It's funding to help lessen costs across LEAs as well, which I think is incredibly, it could be useful.
So just clarifying question. So if they take this Education Innovation Council, they put it out here, anything having to do with things that will be happening in our classrooms with our teachers and with our students would no longer be under the office, the State Office of Education or the board? Is that what we're saying? If they put it somewhere else? Because we're talking about things that are happening inside the classrooms of Utah students.
Yeah, Chair, I don't know that that has been decided yet.
Well, I get that, but I'm saying if, that was the big if at the end was.
Yeah.
If this is put somewhere else, I'm just trying to understand, so.
It's okay. Okay. I don't think that's been part of, the conversation has not led me to believe that any aspect would be taking anything away from the state board. The goal would be to create a space that would be collaborative and provide support on both ends to make sure that needs are met from an R&D perspective around AI. And if that's, I don't think that would take away any of the rights, responsibilities, or constitutional roles of the state board. It would focus mostly on creating a collaborative space to provide the best outcomes possible around the funding that's being provided here.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Ballinger.
Thank you, Chair. If I may direct a question to Specialist Winters. Just curious to know, I mean, because you've been our AI specialist, right? We've been kind of at the forefront of AI in education across the country. What would be your involvement in this? And will you be a connection? Will they move you to that? Like, can you help me understand what your role would be?
Right now, I don't know. I would assume I would just be here at the state board and be a connective fiber from the state board over to whatever this new office would be. That's currently the conversation as far as I understand it.
Right. Oh, yes, Member Real.
Thank you, Vice Chair Wood. So let's say hypothetically, the state does allocate this massive chunk of money to this one vendor that the state office, didn't get to put an RFP out for. And then they request our data. Do we have to give it to them? This is just a hypothetical question maybe, but maybe it's a legal question. We might not have to give them our data. And then they can't really use their tool in the way they want, but okay, I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe Representative White will hear it.
All right, I don't see any other lights. I apologize if it felt like we were attacking you as the messenger. Sometimes we get new information and it hits the wrong way, right? The questions come. So thank you for being here and sharing the information. I think Superintendent Hart, you wanted a point of personal privilege. Oh, did you want to comment to this? I'm sorry.
More question
Okay.
for our friends here.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry.
How do you, having functioned, Matt, with AI for the time that we've been doing AI with USBE, what is your reaction and how would this help or hinder the work that you have begun so magnificently and that we're in the middle of?
There are real questions about how we can apply AI in a lot of different circumstances to speed up processes, to create better data security, to work with data privacy across the state. And in this case, there may be extra capacity allowed through this and extra funding dollars allowed through this directly to us to explore those possibilities that may not even have to ever touch some of our data at the state board. It would be building tools to support our usage to meet the needs. And I think that having more capacity and more speed and more funding to meet the needs of what's happening with artificial intelligence and other innovative factors in education is helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Superintendent Hart.
Oops, there we go. I wanted to take a moment of privilege to introduce a new member of our staff. Nate, would you stand up and wave? This is Nate Mitchell. He is our new ULEAD director, and he started this week. He comes to us via Provo City School District, where he was the director of assessment, and before that, Wasatch School District. We're real excited to have him on board. As you know, ULEAD is a position, it's a very unique position. In fact, I'm often asked to speak to it or speak about it or give information to other states about the ULEAD position. It's established in code, and the position is tasked with finding islands of excellence in our state and then scaling it up so that those practices can be shared. It also has an element of sharing that information with legislators. It also, it's very involved in research and development, and it goes directly to our strategic plan. We've had a couple of meetings talking to people about where we should focus our efforts for ULEAD and where we'd get the biggest bang for the buck. But I did want to put a name with a face, and he will be sending out shortly an email to the board, just introducing himself and sending his contact information along. And of course, he'll be at the next board meeting so that you might stop and say hi and introduce yourself. So I just want to say publicly, welcome, Nate. We are so glad you're here, and we've got a very, I haven't scared him off yet, but a really robust agenda for ULEAD, and every staff member that's walked by and introduced themselves like, oh, great, good, I have some stuff for you. And I know that that's probably a little, when every person says that when they walk past your desk. But welcome, Nate. We're so glad you're here. And board, let me know if you have any questions about that ULEAD position.
Thank you. Welcome, Nate. We're happy to have you on board. I think we're ready to move on to our review of legislation. So we'll have Deputy Superintendent Policy Elise Newey.
Sorry, Michael. Yep. All right. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Board. We've got a lot of bills on the agenda today, but last week we went so fast, I was being very ambitious. So we'll start off right away with student data privacy and cybersecurity related bills. I will say that several of these have moved since I sent this out, so we'll keep you updated on where they currently are. And then I also have Director Chalice with me if you have specific questions as to the bill or impacts or what advisory groups have said related to these bills. The first one is HB 42. This is Representative Wilcox Cybersecurity Amendments. This was held in the House as of yesterday, so our assumption is that it might not be going anywhere at this point, but we'll tell you about it in case it comes back up. It would direct the State Board of Education to establish minimum cybersecurity standards for LEAs. It would prohibit specific electronic devices such as AI glasses and cell phones during classroom hours and would mandate a phased implementation for cybersecurity compliance aligned with industry recognized frameworks. So, anything else on that one that I missed?
Well, maybe just quickly, if that's okay. The sub 1 of the bill did direct the board to establish minimum cybersecurity standards, but subs 2 and 3 moved that to the Cybersecurity Commission. I noticed they didn't update that in the summary, the key points language at the top of the bill, but the body of the bill does move that away from USBE to the Cybersecurity Commission.
All right. Any questions on?
I have a
Yeah.
question, just a quick question. With the cell phone bill, the bell-to-bell ban, does that include electronic devices or is that just cell phone? And I ask because in LEAs, including my own, it's kind of grouped as a electronic device, right? Watches have to be used appropriately. AI glasses that you mentioned, tablets, right? A kid can't just bring in a tablet and say, that's not a cell phone, right? So what's in Lincoln's bill in relation to this? Is there some overlap there?
Do you mind? I believe there's a coordinating clause that ties those two bills together to basically say if Senator Fillmore's bill passes, then the AI restrictions here would apply there as well. That's my memory, but
And Fillmore's bill, the definition of cell phone is smartphone, feature phone, mobile phone, satellite phone, or a personal digital assistant that incorporates capabilities similar to a smartphone. So it wouldn't quite capture, I think, Wilcox's, but with the coordinating clause, it would bring those together.
Okay, thank you.
We have no other questions if you want to move on to the next one.
Just sit here always. Perfect. Okay, next one we've got is Senator Harper's Privacy and Cybersecurity Amendments. This is SB 123. So this would modify provisions related to that Utah Cyber Center that we just mentioned. Specifically, it would expand its duties to include LEAs. It establishes the Utah Cyber Center restricted account, modifies the Cybersecurity Commission's composition, and sets a new deadline for a statewide strategic cybersecurity plan. Yeah, anything else they should know? All right, I'm gonna zoom along. HB 55 from Representative Oxier. We've talked about, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Member Carey.
Yeah, if it's appropriate, could we ask Deputy Superintendent Nui? I found it very helpful for you to give the status of where that
Oh,
bill
yeah,
was, and that
absolutely.
way we know the priority, maybe we need to afford it.
Yes, it is on its first reading in the House.
Okay,
So
thank
that
you.
means it has made it through the Senate and is now.
And if it's appropriate, could we have that update for every bill that we cover, just so we know the status of where it is? To the extent it's known.
As she goes through
Yeah.
this, okay, because it's all on our tracking, right? On our tracking sheet.
It should be, yeah, on that
Where they're at,
spreadsheet, but
yeah.
as we go through them, that would be helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
then additionally, just to jump in, Chair, if I could, everything happens so fast. I was in a conversation with Jenny this morning when she was sharing an experience that happened to her. I kind of had a similar experience where I speak to something 30 minutes later or 30 minutes earlier, a sub had passed, right? It's just very challenging, but I appreciate your efforts and
We will pull it up right now and see where it's at this second. So
Thank
we will do our best.
Member Lear?
Thanks. And a similar request, Elise,
Mhm.
is I'm looking at this really quickly and because you pulled up where it is, what the status is, and it looks like it's passed every discussion and meeting with no dissent or with
For
no.
55?
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's correct.
So I think it would be helpful for me if you could, without being too subjective, say it doesn't look like this has any opposition anywhere. Then it saves me kind of digesting all that quickly. Sorry, lazy.
Totally get that, for sure. Okay, with HB 55, so this was Representative Oxier's bill, and it has passed all the way through since when I sent this out to you on Tuesday. This was one that came up in Education Interim Committee. We have presented this before in front of this body, and there was no feedback from you all. And like Board Member Lear pointed out, there's very little pushback on this one. What it would do, or what it will do, is it amends the Student Data Protection Act regarding third-party contractors. So this is any of the ed tech contractors that our LEAs use. And it would strengthen the LEA's ability to cancel that contract if there's any violation of the data privacy provisions within their contract. So if an LEA finds out that they are sharing data privacy elements that they should not be, they are more empowered to be able to cancel that contract. The second amendment also adds a requirement for our USBE data privacy team to create materials and resources for the vendors to support them with greater compliance. One of the things that we found in the report that was done in collaboration with our agency and BYU was that when vendors were alerted to the issues that they were facing, they were often fairly good about coming up to compliance. So hopefully these resources will help with that compliance and will not require any LEAs to end their contracts. Is there anything I missed? Okay. Any questions
Earl?
on HB 55?
Member Earl has a question.
Yeah, and I know it's passed through, but I did have just a clarifying question. Maybe Director Chalice can answer that. And I maybe you just answered it too, is that if there is a conflict or there's a data privacy issue, they have so many days, but they could amend they could make amends for it, whatever, right? And correct that versus cancellation. But the cancellation is definitely sitting out there. Also, just wondering about, are we already working on that training or that information for vendors so that they're aware of what what some of the protocols are in the state of Utah?
No, not yet, but that's like in our plan for the data privacy team, that's coming up in probably the next 4 months that we would want to get started on
Okay.
creating those materials.
So is that like a goal of the data privacy team, or is it necessary? Do we need, I'm just wondering if we've got a capacity for staffing, or is that something that anticipated to do?
We would definitely do it because of this bill. It was already something that we were hoping to do,
Okay.
but because this bill directs us to, we will certainly do it. And probably, like I said, in the next 4 to 6 months.
Okay, so it's already in the works or whatever. And so,
Yes.
okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any, no hands, right? Okay, let's move on.
Fabulous. All right, the next one on our list is SB 267. This is from Senator Cullimore. And it is currently headed to the Senate Education Committee. So this one has not been heard yet in a committee. This will be its first committee appearance when it appears in Senate Education. This one would require the state board to adopt a statewide digital privacy agreement and ensure that all products used in K-12 schools are executed under that agreement with compliance enforced through periodic audits. One of the questions that we've been asking the sponsor is what he means by audit. So we're hoping to get clarification as to whether that is just standard monitoring or if he's envisioning, a formal audit. So more information to come as we find that out. It would also require software to be academically effective as decided by an impartial third party, and it would need to comply with sensitive material requirements. It prohibits addictive design features and certain kinds of data use and requires creation of a master list and a state level approved software list, as well as requiring the creation of a complaint process. My apologies. What else, Director Chalice?
Do you want to share this information?
Sure.
Okay.
So this one, if you look in your backup, if you refresh the civic clerk backup, there are some compare and contrast documents in there for some of these groups of bills. This is one of those that's available. In there, you can see the fiscal impact. So we included in that column both what we as an agency reported as a possible fiscal impact and then what was put onto the actual fiscal note that is uploaded with the bill. So you can see that one there. We estimated that it would be about $150,000 ongoing to keep these systems in place, as well as a $150,000 one time. The fiscal note that you'll see online on the Utah Legislature website says a $35,000 ongoing cost and a $49,500 one-time cost. So that does require of our agency some significant work. We think that in the long term, we'll be able to absorb that into our regular work processes, but in the short term, that will be a more significant lift. So just letting you know that.
I have a quick question for you. So as you said that it requires software to be academically effective as decided by an impartial third party. How does this play with Representative DeFay's bill on the Balance Act? Did they say the same thing? Because one is LEA's
Right, that's
determining
what I was
which
gonna say.
one, what they're going to use and whether or not it's effective. That's the Balance Act, but this feels like there's a third-party verification.
State level.
Are they coordinating? Because it seems like
Sure.
one is giving a lot more local control than the other.
Yeah, I'll answer that if that's okay.
Yeah.
They're not coordinating to my knowledge. So I think your articulation is exactly right, that in Representative DeFay's bill, kind of the onus of determining academic effectiveness falls on the LEA, if I remember right. But certainly in this bill, that falls on, in a way, falls on the vendor, who then needs to partner with an approved evaluator. And so presumably they would partner with that evaluator to determine their academic effectiveness.
So it could have the conclusion of reducing what LEAs are currently using once this verification comes through.
They would have to come
Yeah.
prepared to prove that it was academically effective.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Member Earl.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, who's absorbing the extra work? Which team is absorbing what should have been a full-time person is now a 16th or an eighth of a person? Who's absorbing the rest of that work? If this passes.
Well, so you're asking a question that has kept me up at night because I don't know.
Okay.
It would be hard to do. It'd be really hard to do. So we'd have to figure out, I believe it would be a partnership between probably my team and teaching and learning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Vice Chair Bollinger.
Thank you, Chair. If I may direct a couple of questions to Director Chaus. I'm curious to know, so when it talks about a master list of software, because some software is used to just submit assignments, things like Canvas, or even just to present lessons like a Nearpod. Would this include all of those softwares? So any software that any teacher uses across the state would have to be approved by the State Board of Education?
I would say, Chair, if I may, it's unclear. So the definition of software right now, I'm guessing, is a little narrower than perhaps the sponsor intended. Currently, the definition of software says, although I did see there's a sub, but it says that it's software used by a student. And in many cases, there are softwares used in schools that are never used by a student, but still contain student data. For example, and I believe, my guess is that the spirit of this did intend to capture those other softwares, because there's reference, for example, to like bus scheduling software, which is unlikely for a student to use. So it seems to me that the definition was perhaps unintentionally narrow. But to answer your question directly, I think as written, those products that you described, Canvas, I can't remember the other ones you listed, I think they would be addressed here. So, but arguably others would not. But in effect, I would say it would be virtually all software used in schools.
May I have a follow-up? So on line 57, when it says aligns with public education core standards, so our busing software has to be aligned with our standards.
You're pointing out, I think, one of the giant question marks of this bill, and one that was brought up regarding assessment as well. Like, how do you determine the academic effectiveness of assessment software? Like, assessment itself is not academically effective, right? Or not. It's
That's just the effectiveness of other.
right. So I think you're highlighting a big question that we had as well, is that it doesn't seem to quite line up with all types of software. It was perhaps meant to address certain types of software and is inadvertently addressing others that don't necessarily fit into that mold of aligning with standards, for example.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah, and I guess because when I read through it at first, and now I'm looking at the software definition, the very idea that it's trying to address the addictive nature, right? And those type of things. I mean, it's got very specific things. It would seem like it was software that was designed to be used academically for standard usage, right? To be teaching the standards or whatever. So I think, to me, it was addressing that. I don't know if, and I am looking at the definition saying, okay, does that meet that standard? And I guess it depends on what you're calling sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out, because assessments could be, it might be RISE, but it could be you're doing a program that you're asked to do that gives you an assessment piece. And are those assessment pieces also then having some of these addictive behaviors or whatever, right? That they had a whole list of things that are maybe offloading the learning, right? The cognitive learning to something else, or they're creating addictive patterns. That's what when I read it, that's how I interpret it. So it's interesting that it's maybe being interpreted a different way. Maybe there's some clarification on the software piece. So thank you.
All right, I'm not seeing any other questions on this.
okay,
Let's move
fabulous.
on.
We'll move on. HB 450 is next on our list. This is from Representative Schallenberger. This is the data privacy amendments. It was currently, it was held in the House Political Subdivisions Committee. So our assumption is that might be where it stays, but we want to give you an overview just in case. This would clarify language and requirements from the Government Data Privacy Act and adds a board designee to the Privacy Commission. And no additional cost or fiscal impact to the agency would be included in this one. So if there's any questions. Okay, awesome. The last one in this group of bills is SB 152 from Senator McKell. This one is currently, it was sent back to rules for a fiscal or an updated fiscal note. I believe that there's going to be some amendments, and I'll tell you about those in a second. So this would require USBE and USHE to establish a process for sharing particular data for grades 7 through 12. That data would be used for just the following purposes: secondary student access to college and career readiness programs. That would include things like technical colleges, early college programs, concurrent enrollment, and first credential. It would also give student access to higher education. So this would be things like scholarship processes, financial aid, admission, and enrollment within the Utah USHE system. Also for audit and evaluation, and then additional reporting requirements. We see right now the fiscal impact for the agency would be about $50,000 to develop some new elements of UTREX and eventually USIMS. And yeah, that's kind of the change. There were some questions when it was presented to the committee. There were questions about what exactly the data elements would be. And so at the request of some of the committee members, the sponsor is taking it back and working with USHE and us in collaboration to determine exactly what those elements would be and putting those into statute. So anything else I should add? Okay. Any questions on that one?
Member Earl.
Wait, I know, sorry, getting a little anxious there. Thanks, Chair. My question is around the ability to opt out. In other words, is all the data sent to USHE? They can then advertise to whatever students they want to in whatever capacity, right? Or does a parent or a child opt into doing this? What was, I'm trying to remember what the relationship was there. I know there was some language, but I can't remember what that was.
Are you okay if I speak?
So-
So in the Bill, I wonder, Greg, if you could go to those 4 purposes for which the data are shared. Right there.
Right
Yeah.
there,
So on subsection 1, A, B, C, and D. Parents or students who are old enough to opt out can opt out of data sharing for the purposes of A and B. So this would presumably happen during the registration process when they're signing up for school. A parent is presented with the option of choosing whether they want to opt out of this, and they can select yes or no. Then that, what we call an indicator, so that choice, their selection of opting out or not, would be sent to us through Utrex. And then through Utrex, we would say when it comes time to share the data with USHE, we would filter out all the students who had been opted out, whose parents opted them out. And so we would only send the data for the non-opted out students at that time. Now, C and D, subsections 1A, C, and 1D, those do not have an opt-out option, and that's because audit and evaluation needs to happen for all students regardless of opt-out. And also those 2 processes are already happening. They just kind of tucked them into the bill for documentation purposes, I suppose. So A and B are the new things, and both of those have an opportunity to opt out. And then to directly answer your question, Vice Chair Earl, the data for those 2 purposes would not be shared with USHE if they had been opted out. And then I'll also add one little comment. You mentioned something about advertising. In working with USHE on this, I communicated that we, meaning I think speaking on behalf of the board, is really wants to make sure that advertising doesn't happen. And I was assured verbally that that was not going to happen. And then I think we could partner with USHE, again, we meaning you, could partner with USHE on some kind of rule to prevent that.
Okay. I do have one more question. When we say USHE, I know who USHE is, but what are we really talking about? Is all this data going to every institution that could possibly have a student coming to them? Or is USHE have a computer that they use and a guy that runs their computer, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Or is this all going out and then we're like, we hope you don't just go out advertising to kids all the time. We hope what this is that if children or, students opt in, or it's not an opt-in. If they don't opt out, yeah, oh, that's interesting. Okay, I don't know, how does that work? Just trying to think through that, because they really could, it may not be advertising outside stuff, but it certainly could be, right?
Yeah, the way it was, if I may, the way it was explained to me is that certainly it is a one-place database at the office of USHE. So it's not going to all 16
Okay,
institutions. And basically it would be specifically for 1B, which is for Admit Utah. A student would use Admit Utah, it would ping the database, sort of ask like, hey, is this student eligible, which universities is this student eligible for? And then that returns back to the student, so the student can see, oh, wow, I'm eligible for like 12 out of the 14 institutions, or 14 out of the 16 or
Okay.
something like that. So it is not
So it's
not going
housed
out.
somewhere else.
It's
kind of a
housed
thing.
at the
Okay,
office of
okay.
USHE, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Member Carey?
Chair, Chair, I miss.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Director Chalice, on line 45. Well, 44 talks about, we have to send student data, and then 45 says from the state board and education entities. And that's not language that we see a lot in our side of the yard. So could you explain to me, has that been defined? And would we be required to acquire this data from the education entities and provide it to USHE, or are they providing it themselves? Thank you, Vice Chair.
Yeah, so there's education entities is defined in this this part of the Student Data Protection Act, and it's defined as basically LEAs, USBE, and the School for the Deaf and Blind. So that's what they mean when they say education entities. To your second question, which was, oh, right, yeah, so the intent would be, and this is where the potential privacy benefit comes in, is that in an alternate universe, the LEAs would all send this data directly to USHE. In the universe that will exist if this passes, the LEAs will send the data to us through the Utrecht system, and then we will send it to USHE directly. So the reason that reduces some risk is that we have one data transaction rather than, 80 something. Does that answer your question, Member Carey?
It does. Thank you.
All right, I think, Member Davis.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't realize that I should have said your name, Chairwood. Sorry about that. Students can already opt in to sharing their data with higher ed when they register at school. And then also, they can do all of the things in the sections listed with scholarships and applications and financial aid and admission if they use the new application that works for all the schools. So that's another way that they're saying we're interested in this. So what do they need the data beyond that for?
So I think 2, maybe 3 years ago, USHE was statutorily directed to create a direct admissions process. So in days gone by, and arguably still, a student chooses to send their transcript to University of Utah and UVU and Utah Tech. In a direct admissions process, there's a single process where a student sort of submits an application and then they are told all of the schools that, I don't know who to look at because it's, they're told all of the schools that they're eligible for. So that direction to do that direct admission process was set forth in statute. So that, I would say, Member Davis, that's why this is happening, even though you're right that there's already an opportunity for students to apply individually to existing university or to universities.
May I follow up, Chair?
Yes.
So they can already fill out one application, and then every university that they're eligible for lets them know you can come here and you can come here. And we just did this with my daughter.
Oh, does your daughter attend Provo District by chance?
No.
Oh, okay.
So there's this collective application that we put into place to do this very thing. The only thing I can think, are they saying that they don't even want students anymore to fill out the one application? They just want to go into their records and send them an email without even applying and say, you are eligible for these 7 schools based on your grades?
I would say it's somewhere in between. So the current application requires a student to go in and typey, enter in all their information. This, the other extreme of that would be that they never do anything at all. They don't take any action and they're determined whether they're eligible or not. What Admit Utah would do is something in the middle where they do need to go to the website, actively go to the website, enter in some minimal information, but they're not submitting a full application. What they're doing is they're confirming their identity. USHE would have most of the information that would otherwise be in that application. So it's time saving, I guess I would say is the way it would work. But it's not automatic. It does necessitate a student visiting the website and confirming their identity.
Okay, we are at 10 minutes on this topic.
It's not that long.
One thing, Member Davis, Admit Utah, it still requires them to go to the schools and oftentimes fill out more information. So it's like an in-between. It's a way to get students to go to college, but honestly, from the institution standpoint, it's kind of a pain in the butt. So because you have to still go back and put in more information to get admitted. And so, and there is a sharing agreement between USHE and K through 12 with a lot of the data to contact students to encourage them to enroll in higher education anyway. So anyways, I just wanted to say that it's it's not, it's a good idea, but it's not being executed the way that it could be in a better way that shares data.
Thank you. All right, that concludes that section. Is there any action on any of these bills that we would want to take? HB 42, SB 123, HB 55, SB 267, or HB 450, SB 152? Member Bollinger?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to make a motion that we direct staff to work with Senator Colmore on SB 267 to address some of the concerns we discussed.
Second? Okay, there's a second with Member Carey. Do you want to speak to that?
I just think it sounds like we need more clarity and understanding. I mean, we want to make sure that we can follow what the intent is and make sure that we're supporting our LEAs, and if USBE is responsible for approving, just knowing what that process looks like. So I just think the wording needs to be clarified. So I'd love some support in that.
And I would love to see some coordination with Representative DeFay's bill, because we've got a lot of flexibility and absolutely no flexibility. So is there any discussion to this motion? Okay, all right, we'll go ahead. We'll go to, so the motion is, the motion is to direct staff to work with Senator Colmore on SB 267 education. Thank you. What is the name of it? Not just the Senator Colmore, is 267. And we'll go roll call vote. Member Bogus? Come back to you. Member Bollinger?
Yes.
Yes. Member Booth? Yes. Member Davis?
Yes.
Yes. Member Brinton? Yes. Member Earl?
Yes.
Yes. Member Green?
Yes.
Thank you. Member Hall?
No.
Pardon?
No.
No. Okay. Member Chair Hymas?
Yes.
Yes. Member Kelly? Come back. Member Carey? Yes. Member Lear?
Yes.
Yes. Member Longacre? Yes. Member Rill?
Yes.
Yes, I am a yes. Going back. Member Bogus?
Yes. And I
Yes.
believe Member Kelly's gone. He does not appear to be here.
Oh, thank you. All right, that motion passes. 13 yeses, 1 no, being Member Hall, and 1 absent. Thank you. Member Carey.
Yeah, and maybe I get guidance from the chair on the RFA, the School of AI from Representative White. Would it be appropriate, because I know staff is already doing this, but would it be appropriate to direct staff to do what they're doing, or just allow them to keep doing what they're doing, or it's not necessary? But I do have some concerns that I would like them to be aware of as a board that we have about this, but.
We are in the moment of action, so if you'd like to take a,
Yeah, then a motion to direct staff to express the concern shared today with Representative White and others on the RFA.
on the RFA, do you have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any
Christina
discussion
Bogus,
to that?
where we disrupt
I'll
the
waive.
system with hard truths.
No, I'll waive
Chair?
it. No.
Yes, Member Bogus?
Sorry, I have a substitute motion.
Okay, we have a substitute motion. Go ahead.
I would move that we issue a vote of opposition to this RFA for many of the reasons we discussed.
Right, do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Member Green, right? Any discussion to the motion to oppose?
So Chair, I think we covered it.
Thank you.
This.
Yes, if you want to speak to it, I'm sorry.
Oh, I apologize. I thought you were prompting me. Please accept my apologies.
Yeah, go ahead and speak to it.
Oh, thank you. So I think we covered so much of this. It's not constitutional. We're spending money. If they would like to send that money our way so that we can do that in-house, I think that's wonderful, but this is totally out of the lane that it needs to be in. And vendor bills is just bad governance. I loved what Member Real said. I thought Member Earl made some good points. There were a lot of things that were brought up that were very poignant. And I think we need to be strong and courageous in saying to our legislature that we can't have 14 different people making policy for education in this state. We are a constitutionally sanctioned body, and we need to bring that up and under us so that we're doing things in the right process and that there's elected accountability at the end of the row. So thank you for your time.
Member Carey, to the motion to oppose?
Just want to speak in opposition to it. And I was at a hearing, I guess it was last week, and I think leadership was there and Board Member Earl was there, and it was on USDB. And Representative White could not have been more sincere or gracious in his compliments to board leadership and to Board Member Earl about working together to resolve some of these heavy and deep USDB issues. And I got the distinct impression that he would be open and willing to work with this body, not only on the continuation of that issue, but other issues. And I think coming out in opposition to his bill without knowing more would send the wrong message at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And I would echo Member Carey's sentiment to this. Although I do think that there's obviously a lot of concerns that we have about just what our role is, what this looks like. I would hate for us to miss the opportunity to have a seat at the table to discuss how we can help move this forward. Especially, we kind of pointed out, this is happening in our classrooms and in our schools. And as a board, I think that we want to make sure that we have a seat at the table. And because it's an RFA and not a specific bill, I just think we need to find out more information. We need to address the concerns and see where we can work on this. So I would oppose this motion and support the underlying motion. Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you. Member Davis?
One thing I'd like to know is if this is a sole source, because one of the reasons that we supported Adobe was because it was a sole source. And I know AI has done a lot of work in Utah to help find safe ways to use AI because kids are already using it. So I guess I just do have a few more questions about it before I'm ready to take a position of a yes or a no.
Can you speak to
Member
that?
Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, so it would be a sole source, Member Davis. And if I may also, for a point of clarification, perhaps for the maker of the motion. So if there is a vote taken to oppose this RFA and then this RFA ends up in the final bill of bills as passed by EAC, our understanding as staff would be that we would oppose the bill of bills, which would be unprecedented. So just if we could get some clarification as staff on that one as well.
May I have a quick follow-up, Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just wanted to add, though, that I understand the concerns that were expressed by the board members, and it would be good to have those shared as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Member Buckus, do you have any follow-up before we vote on the motion to oppose?
Oh, I thought she was asking me a question.
Yes.
So it's just my opinion that I think we should oppose most of what the legislature is doing this session. They don't seem to be very interested in liberty. They don't seem to be very interested in local control. And I would have no problem at all with that being the end thing. But that wasn't my expectation, if that helps clear up the issue.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and move to a vote. This is a vote on the motion to oppose the school AI RFA. Member Buckus?
Yes.
Yes. Member Bollinger?
No.
No. Member Booth? No. Member Davis?
No.
No. Member Brenton? No. Member Earl? No. Member Green?
Yes.
Yes. Member Hall?
No.
No. Chair Hymus?
No.
No. Member Carey? No. Member Lear?
No.
No. Member Longacre? No. Member Real? Yes. Member Wood is a no. Okay, that vote is, it fails 3 to 11, and the yes votes are Member Bogus, Member Green, and Member Real. That moves us to a second, to our primary motion, which was to direct staff to work with Representative White on the school AI RFA to address the concerns voiced by the board. Just a clarification, I might get a nod from Matt. Are you clear with the concerns that we have? If this motion passes, you know what to speak to? Okay, thank you. All right, any discussion to this motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead to a vote. Member Bogus?
Yeah.
Member Bollinger?
Yes.
Member Booth? Yes. Member Davis?
Yes.
Yes. Member Brinton? Yes. Member Earl? Yes. Member Green?
Yes.
Yes. Member Hall?
Yes.
Yes. Chair Hymus?
Yes.
Yes. Member Carey? Yes. Member Lear? Yes. Member Longacre? Yes. Member Real? Yes. Member Wood is a yes. That passes 14 unanimously, 14-0. Thank you. All right, let's move to, not seeing any other lights. Let's move to our next section. Oh. So, all right, I do have a motion for the board.
Okay.
Having voted on the prevailing side last time on Senator Wilson's bill SB 164, I would move that we bring that back up for discussion. Second. Okay, we have a second to that. I'd like to know if there's been any changes, any updates as we moved to discuss. The motion was to support that last week, and so I'd like to get an update on that and to determine if we could support that.
Do you need to vote on that first?
Oh, yes, we do.
Okay.
Is there any objections to that, to bringing that back up? The motion to support? Is there any? Okay. I'm not hearing or seeing any objections. I'm not going to go through the whole voice vote if we can just go ahead and discuss it. So,
Okay, perfect.
okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So Representative Wilson, this is the school construction amendments, SB 164. As of right now, there is. That's good. Okay. Thank you for the team effort today. It is in its first reading in the House. It made it out of the House Rules Committee. It has one sub, and in this sub, he was adding the charter schools back in. So I know that this was one of the questions and concerns that was out there about this bill, is whether or not it would include charter schools, and he has added that back in, is my understanding. That's where we are at.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Superintendent Jones, could you speak to where we're at with the audit, how this helps us with the construction audit?
So, Madam Chair, Deputy Superintendent of Operations Scott Jones, so clearly, this bill is aligned with the recommendations of the audit that was done on school construction. So if it passes, then a lot of the recommendations, or if not all of the recommendations that the OLAG made related to oversight of school construction would be met. Well, would be in process of being met, but then obviously it would be under DFCM's oversight, not the board's. Does that answer the question, or? without getting into each one of the recommendations, yes, it does address those. So.
All right.
May I speak to this? This is Member
Yes.
Green.
Yes, go ahead, please.
So this is one that I've been following, and I've reached out to superintendents. This has actually come up in meetings where I was with like 6 superintendents. They're talking about that, and then the facilities manager. I mean, this has been in depth. Also, maybe coming from a view of construction, that world. But without my experience, I wanted to know what they felt about this. And the analogy was used. It's kind of like using a flamethrower to light a candle on a birthday cake. It's a little bit of an overkill. The concern is that this bill wouldn't actually reduce costs. It would actually cost them more. And additionally, the provisions in the bill would severely delay projects and tie them up in bureaucracy. They're also concerned about the loss of local control. Just because maybe something, say, for example, Salt Lake School District did something, and then they would have to be kind of punished indirectly, I guess you could say, for one extreme situation. So I'm actually grateful that you brought this back because I've lost a lot of sleep about it over the last week. And I would actually like to move that we would oppose this bill. I do think that schools are trying to figure it out, and as good as this sounds or might look on paper, I would argue in the real world this is actually going to harm schools in a very big way. So with a second, I would like to make that motion.
I would second that.
May I speak to this?
So you have a motion, a second. Do you want to speak any more to it?
After the motion,
To,
yeah, after they do.
No, I'm okay, and I went on a little bit before. Sorry.
is it? All right, thank you. Deputy Superintendent Jones, you wanted to speak to that?
So as it relates to your earlier question, Madam Chair, about the audit, so the audit clearly stated that we had not met the requirements of oversight and governance. However, we had tried to argue that by virtue of the process that we did adopt, which was basically related to forms SP 10 and SP 9, the SP 9 form actually is their attestation that they've got all the permits in order and they did it. So our oversight was less of an administrative burden. So the point made about that this would cost more money and that, yes, it would delay projects is true. That's accurate. However, if that's the end state, and again, going along with all the recommendations you see now that are displayed here, this bill actually does do that. It meets the audit recommendations for more oversight, more decision-making by the agency, which would be DFCM. And so either way, we don't have the capacity to do all of these recommendations. And one of the recommendations was to look at moving this away from us, so.
Thank you.
Yes.
Superintendent Hart, you wanted to speak to this?
Yes. So, oversight costs money. It just does. And oversight takes time. It just does. That's just a foregone conclusion. What isn't happening is appropriate oversight of construction, school construction. So I think I echo what Board Member Green said. This is out of our wheelhouse. This is not our expertise. And higher ed has used DFCM for their buildings. We use DFCM for our buildings. And I think that by saying, it costs more, it takes more time, that's not what we're debating here. That's not our consideration. Our consideration is understanding that somebody is going to be over construction. Do you, as USBE, want to become over the construction of schools and develop that expertise? Or do we partner with DFCM, who is the state agency that is the expert in construction? It's going to go one place or another because oversight has to happen. So I just think the question here is not whether or not there's oversight. The question is where that oversight is best situated to be done in the best way that minimizes the burden to what's best for the system. Now, somebody else can argue whether there should be regulation or not. We have a different question to consider, I think. There are also concerns about, we hear that we're too big. We say or do things that we shouldn't get involved in. Well, let's think about whether our wheelhouse is construction or not.
And Member Earl.
Yeah, and maybe a clarification on this. My understanding from what I'm just reading through the bill right now, or back through it, right? I know there's been a lot of discussion and dialogue about this, but it's indicating that if a school district, charter, whatever's being under this, that they may delegate that oversight authority to the school facility if they have adequate people or what, you know what I mean? So my understanding is they'll only be stepping in those areas where they don't have adequate oversight. Other than that, it will be delegated to a school that has that ability to do the things that need to be done. Is that an accurate statement?
So, Madam Chair, yes, I concur or agree with the Board Member Earl's interpretation is correct. I would also, though, like to add that part of the challenge for all of us has been, and especially the LEAs, is actually having certified individuals in those positions. The attrition rates are horrible. You could go through any district right now and they lack construction specialists. They lack those, which is my concern, right? Just strictly from a staff perspective and an operational piece, is even if we were given the money to hire 9 or 10 or 12 or however many specialists, it would be very difficult to retain them, to keep them and do that. So you're opening ourselves up to attrition and those types of things that even right now our districts face. So yes, she's correct. However, the consideration too is that likely there won't be anybody to delegate that to in a lot of places. So the oversight agency, in this case, which is DFCM, would still have to operate or still assume those responsibilities or conduct them. But yes, they can delegate it for sure.
Question.
Yes.
And without any modifications in this area, we still maintain, if nothing passed, we would be the accountable party for that current in law. Is that accurate? We have one
Correct.
person to do that.
Madam Chair, that is my understanding to Board Member Earl's question, yes.
Thank you.
And I do not have the resources to do this to the expectations of the audit or the legislature stemming from the audit. We don't have that.
Thank you. Vice Chair Bollinger.
Thank you, Chair. I know that this is one of the bills when Senator Wilson came that some of the LEAs in my area had concerns about. So, and he said he'd be willing to work with them to make some changes. Looking at this up, I just want to make sure that these things were addressed. Number one, it looks like charter schools were added back into it. So it's not just district schools. Is that correct? So it's all public schools now.
Correct.
Okay. And then my
Through the
second
chair.
question is there was a 1.25% fee originally. I'm looking at lines 264, and it makes it look like that the division may establish fee-for-service construction management programs to provide professional construction oversight for a school district lacking internal capacity. So the way that I read that is because there is an LEA in my area that does have internal capacity, so they could have that flexibility. Am I reading this correctly?
Yes, it goes to, Madam Chair, through you. It goes to my earlier point, though, that while yours does, others may not.
Okay, so it
So,
holds those
right.
accountable that may not, but allows flexibility for those. that do.
Correct.
Thank you.
That's how I interpret it, yes.
Member Lear.
Thanks. I have to once again explain my huge conflict in making a decision of yes or no. I hear what you're saying. I respect Scott mightily. He knows when he has the resources to do something and when he doesn't, and he does them with great integrity. So that is troubling to me to have him say, I don't. And and then yet be seeing the alternative as another, I think, bigger, less familiar bureaucracy to school districts and charter schools. So that is a huge dilemma for me. Secondly, I'm hoping to Vice Chair Bollinger's point that the determining whether the LEA has capacity or not is in the eyes of the LEA, not in someone else saying, no, you don't have capacity, because I think that that has to be determined by the LEA. And as long as that's the case, the point to our charters in or out, I just love the fact that somebody else will then manage charter construction issues, and hope that that will go well for DFCM. But I want to make sure that charters are all in. I went through the bill last night, and there were still at least 15 different places where it just said school districts. And I want to make sure that was just because drafters have so many bills and not because there was any intentional leaving out charter schools in certain places and not others. So I'm just publicly saying I'm expecting that charters are all in, not just sort of in. So I think that's really important. And saying, I wish before we had to do this, and I know time is of the essence, we're facing this audit and the problems with the audit, but I wish we could look for door number 3. I wish we could say, is there another way that was more acceptable to LEAs, workable with LEAs, than this just turning them over to a bureaucracy that I feel like doesn't understand the peculiarities of public education, where these buildings are built to be community centers, not just schools. And that's a beautiful thing and should be welcomed instead of minimized or limited. So I don't even know, I'll see what the vote is. I really feel like I need to support the LEAs in this concern, but I also very much respect what the office needs. So I don't know, but this is not I feel like we've been boxed into 2 bad choices.
Thank you, Member Member Lear. Sorry. All right, our timer has gone off for this. We're going to move to vote. The vote is a motion to oppose. We'll go ahead with a voice vote. So Member Bogus.
Yes.
Yes. Member Bollinger.
No.
No. Member Booth. Okay. Member Davis.
Abstain.
Okay. Abstain. Member Brinton. No. Member Earl. No. Member Green.
Yes.
Yes. Member Hall.
Abstain.
Abstain. Member Hymas.
No.
No. Member Carey. No. Member Lear. Abstain. Member Longacre. No. Member Real. No. Member Wood is a no. That motion. Oh, Member Booth. No. Okay. Okay, that motion fails. 2 yeses, which are Member Bogus and Member Green, and 3 abstains, which are Member Davis, Member Hall, and Member Lear. Thank you.
Madam Chair? Could I
Yes.
ask for clarification for staff purposes in future discussions regarding this bill?
Well, so we'll go back to our original
Okay,
motion, which
gotcha.
is to
Okay,
support,
yep.
which we have not voted on.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so this will be our last action, but we have to finish the motion that we're on. So Member Carey?
No.
Oh, okay. That was your light.
Voting, just saying, no, I don't.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, okay, we'll go ahead for a voice vote. This is a motion to support Wilson's bill. Member Bogus?
Sorry, no.
No. In its current state, yeah. Member, Vice Chair Ballinger?
Yes.
Yes. Member Booth? No. Member Davis?
Abstain.
Dane? Okay, Member Brinton? Yes. Member Earl? Yes. Member Green?
No.
No. Member Hall?
Yes.
Yes. Chair Hymas?
Yes.
Yes. Member Carey?
Yes.
Yes. Member Lear? Abstain. Member Longacre? Yes. Member Rill?
Yes.
Yes. And I'm a yes. Yep. That motion passes 9-3. 2 abstains, which were Member Davis and Member Lear, and 1 no, and 3 no's, Member Bogus, Member Booth, and Member Green. All right, I'll take one more final motion. Motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
Second, all a favor? Any opposed? Thank you.